marketing company in the world. I'm here with the largest influencer in the marketing space, Fernando. Tremendous speaker and obviously amazing move to NotCo. I guess I want to start off with a little bit of the past to where we're at today. You were previously at RBI, Burger King, even other stuff. Well, what's the biggest difference between those days? And obviously, you talked about briefly that there was some level of startup mentality in those places, but when you're actually at a startup, maybe the budget doesn't exist at all. How do you supplement that? How do you make these things happen?
Yeah, I always try to think about things conceptually. So a lot of the stuff that I learned, even at Unilever, I apply on Activision. Stuff that I use at Activision, I try to apply at NotCo, even though the companies are completely different. I actually find the combination of Burger King and Unilever, there are lots of things there that are very applicable to NotCo. Like we launched like the Impossible Whopper when we were at PK, and today Burger King is the largest plant-based burger joint in the world. Like no, it's an amazing product. And the technology from Impossible and from Beyond, it's really really amazing. And we built the whole ESG program for RBI. It started when I was still there, didn't exist before. And I think that many of these things I think are very applicable to the work at Notco. Look, I mean, I've learned from my personal perspective, for what's worth, the biggest barrier for doing great marketing work, it's not usually the money. Like to me, the biggest barrier is the number of stakeholders you have to convince and the mindset of the company, the mindset of the CEO, and all that good stuff. You see lots of companies that have a ton of money and they don't do, in my view, great creative marketing work. And then you see Liquid Death, like there are so many that do, I think, an amazing marketing work. I think that they are doing on a budget, like so. It feels great to to have this feeling, and maybe I'm just on my honeymoon phase with the company, that I really feel that people are incredibly creatively ambitious in terms of like the work that we have to do, in terms of the product innovation, in terms of the technology. Like the CEO is like super ambitious when it comes to that, and everyone in the team is too. So I feel very at home and very energized to truly push the boundaries of like what can be done. So expect us to do great work, or for me to end up in jail. It's one of the two, or maybe both. Like you never know.
So the work speaks for itself. It's obviously innovative. It makes you think. Who is the audience for the product? Is it a general market product? Is it going after vegans? Is it going after those that are kind of want to be there but don't know how to get there?
Yeah, I think usually not just for Notco, but I think for most companies around that space, the biggest target audience is what we call flexitarians. Like I'm not vegan myself, like but I do eat plant-based before plant-based was a thing. Like I always try to mix a little bit. It makes me feel that I'm doing something healthy. It makes me feel like I'm doing something good for the world. Um, uh, Usually flexitarians tend to be like 95% of the volume that we sell, and that's true for most of the other brands too. It was true for Impossible when we were doing like the BK work, and it tends to be a younger target audience. It tends to be a target audience that deeply cares about, or cares more, let's say, about the environment. It tends to be a little bit higher socioeconomic level today because the products are today a little bit more expensive. And I'm underlying today because I think that with scale, hopefully to become cheaper than producing like animal derived product.
So let's talk. All right. So you have the flexitarians. So that's a great word. Global status. So there's U.S. There's North America. There's Latin America, etc. This is a Chilean company, correct? So you guys think about language when you do those. Is there a version of that in Spanish, in different Portuguese? Is there?
Yeah. So the company did start in Chile. The company is like a powerhouse in Chile because there is a lot of local pride, right? I mean, everyone knows that the company started in Chile. In Chile, we also have a good presence in Brazil, good presence in Argentina. Very strong presence it's starting to get stronger in the US, good presence in Canada. Um, the headquarters is New York, between New York and San Fran. New York is kind of like the business commercial headquarters. San Francisco is R&D and AI. We like that campaign that I show. Like we did launch everywhere. The brand was present, so we did have to adapt the language locally. We don't, which is something that I've learned at my time on RBI. We don't force countries to do stuff. Like we have the positioning of the brand. We create campaigns, and if the country wants to launch a campaign, like great, we'll help the country. If the country doesn't want to launch because not in this case, but it could be humor that doesn't work in a specific location or culturally insensitive depending on the religion. There are like all sorts of like reasons why countries may not want to partake in a global campaign. But from my experience at BK and here, like most campaigns did land everywhere, and we do the adaptation and the localization.
So every great campaign activation is a mixture of content, audience, and distribution. You have amazing content. Everyone it resonates really well. Distribution wise, I think about creators, but there's also the social platforms. There's digital. There's out of home. How I saw some of the, like the out of home stuff there. Have you guys taken this to creators and had them either distribute it or create content around this?
Yeah, like not on this one, but like, because we saw this one. Remember, that was the first thing that we did when I joined. So I'm still like hurdling the cats and trying to make people understand how to go about things and how to build a PR plan and how to create a social presence. Like I don't even love the social media footprint that we have today. I think we are stronger on Instagram and TikTok, weak on Twitter. I think this is a campaign that goes really well on Twitter because it's like headline, right? I mean, and people are like sharing headlines. So I'm still like molding the team and the way we go about things. If you ask me, for how would you go about this if you had no limitation? Yes, I would have hired like influencers to help us create content around the campaign or to help amplify the message of the campaign. I think influencers was so key on Activision Blizzard, and I've learned so much. I think that when I was at RBI, we didn't use it as much. Like and for any food brand is really key because like I cannot think of a category that has more influences than food. Honestly, maybe there is, but um, I think food is probably like number
Food and
one.
fashion, probably.
Yeah, fashion. That's true. Yeah, but I think that anything that we do for NotCo, we should have that component. And even if you're not in food and fashion, I do think that influencers today is a very authentic way for you to reach your target audience. So I'll definitely strongly recommend. And I'm not doing a plug for him. I truly believe on that. Like on Activision, we wouldn't launch a campaign. We found like a solid like influencer plan to go with it.
So thank you. So I want to congratulate you on the concept. I was actually blown away by the almost subversiveness of if you tell someone to don't eat meat and you show them really bad pictures of things, they kind of like almost bifurcate it in their mind. But asking the other version, living longer, like that is like, oh, that's a life. I live longer. I want to live longer. So I'm sure so do animals. Do you guys have a working session of like, how do I not just scare people, but I want to make them think, and then that will
Yeah.
be invasive in their mind?
I think that it was not necessarily that we did it through a working session. Like what we do, which is kind of similar to the approach we had at RBI and Activision, is we see the communication structure as groundwork, which is kind of like the bread and butter, the blocking and tackling. Like I can have the most amazing brand in the world. I still need to have a point of sale material for Whole Foods and Walmart. Like so I need to do that blocking and tackling, um, performance marketing and all that stuff. And then we try to add on top of that a layer of messages or briefs, which are very simple one-line briefs that we work with our agency, which are very driven by PR and social, that will hopefully are not going to require a ton of money to produce. And then we have like something that we call evergreen, which is more like ongoing conversations in social. And for Burger King, we had a brief that was around flame grilling because the brand will always have to talk about flame grilling, and I cannot rely on my innovation plan or my promotional plan to land that message. For Dove, we had a brief around making women feel more beautiful. Because again, like the blocking and tackling was the quarta moisturizing cream and the functional messages of the product, and we wanted to make the brand bigger than just the products that we sell. And for NotCo, we do have something around animals. We do have something around sustainability and plants. And hopefully, like we already have on the pipeline other ideas that will come from that type of brief. And we'll have like the Not Milk campaign, the Not Mayo campaign, which will be fun. Don't get me wrong. It's not like we're going to produce boring stuff for groundwork. But I cannot like I cannot have my P&L depend on whether something going viral or not. Like so that stuff is the icing on the cake. And it's very hard to be able to do that if the business, the blocking and tackling is not going well. It's just like Whopper the Tour or Moji Whopper. I mean, those things wouldn't fly if you were like declining 10%. Because the business is okay, we can add stuff like that in the plan.
So I want to end it with AI and then open it up for questions. You guys have, I'm sure, better questions than I do. Chef Giuseppe?
Giuseppe, yes.
Giuseppe. So, out of curiosity, is there anything in particular that the chef has made with insane ingredients that you guys are either thinking about?
Oh
or
my
maybe throw on the
God.
wall?
Yeah. Like we like I would say that the guys from R&D and NAI and the chefs, because it's a combination of the three. It's like food scientists, R&D, AI, and the chefs. Like they don't cease to surprise me with the creativity that they have. Like I was in San Francisco, and then I was in Mexico, Chile, and Sao Paulo. And everywhere we went, the chefs did prepare stuff that we haven't marketed yet, from a mole sauce to soy sauce to chocolate without cacao and without milk, and you cannot tell the difference, to everything in between. Like the potential of the technology is just amazing, and it's great to be able to work on a place that you believe on the technology and you believe on the product and you believe on the purpose, and hopefully you'll be able to translate that into great marketing, not just campaigns but design on everything, and time will tell. You'll be the judge when stuff starts to hit in the marketplace.
Brave New World. Anyone have any questions? Could be about AI, could be about anything that Fernando has shown today.
Don't be shy. Yes.
Sir.
Yeah, like good question. I think I cannot think of a harder market than the US. You know what I mean? Like because Chile, even Mexico, Argentina, is very concentrated, right? I mean, the US is so broad, like in geographic scope, like Brazil too. But Brazil, like a brand like this, if you do well in São Paulo and Rio, you can build a scale, right? I mean, while here is spread like everywhere, so it's really damn expensive to build a brand in a place like this. In the case of NotCo, like we are trying to build the brand in the US through different avenues. Like we have our own products that we sell. Like, and if you go to Whole Foods here, hopefully you will find them because I mean they are there. But we also have partnership with other brands. So right now, if you go to any Shake Shack, we just launched this week the custard and the shake, the chocolate shake. They are by NotCo, and you have on the menu board NotCo, which is great. So we have partnerships with Starbucks in Latin America, Dunkin' Donuts in Latin America, 8 different Burger King counters in Latin America, Fredo in Argentina, and Starbucks too. Yeah, and that really helps, because sampling is expensive, and it's not even a free sampling. We are making money like doing the sampling, right? So that's a flying wheel. And then we also have a JV, a joint venture here in the US with Kraft Heinz. So we are doing every single product, the meaningful product from Kraft Heinz. So we just launched Not Cheese, Kraft Singles Not Cheese. We launched Not Mayo uh, with our brand. And if they have a brand that is stronger than our brand, then we launch with their brand within NotCo Intel inside, powered by NotCo. So the Kraft Singles Not Cheese is Kraft Singles, but the whole stripe of the pack is NotCo. And there is more coming. Imagine, like they have mac and cheese, they have Philadelphia cream cheese, they have Oscar Myers, they have like a bunch of stuff. So because if I just rely on my marketing budget and my distribution power, imagine the negotiation, right? I mean, with Walmart, right? I'm this size, right? It becomes very very hard. So I don't know if your question was specifically U.S., but in the U.S. we are trying through different fronts to build the brand because it's so expensive. In Argentina, Brazil, I think it's easier. It's not easy, but it's easier for you to go and be, through distributors, through your own sales force, to launch the brand in that marketplace. You know, I think that as in any startup, like we have a very tight budget and we have very aggressive like growth plans. We are still not profitable, and there is a target to break even. Um, so business is really important. Like, but stuff like this, the animal thing that I presented, it's cheap. You know what I mean? Like because it was very much PR and organic social, and it really helps the brand. Like it helps people who I would need to spend the CPM of this campaign. It's like I'm not joking. It's 12.5x better than our normal investment. Yeah.
That's great. Ted? You look phenomenal, by the way. You look phenomenal. You look phenomenal.
Yeah. So I think it's a really good question. So when I joined Burger King, um, in the first 6 months, we had a conversation. Rogelio was not there yet, but we had a conversation where I said, "Hey, shouldn't we have a roadmap to remove ingredients from artificial sources, to maybe like decrease fat, sugar, calories, sodium?" And then people looked at me as if I were like a fucking like coming from a spaceship, and they asked me like, "Fernando, prove to us that um, if we do any of that, we're going to be selling more next month." And I replied, "No, no, I don't think we will. But 10 years from now, I think if we didn't do that work, I don't think we will exist. So between now and 10 years from now, this work will have to be done. If we are the first one to do it, at least we can claim it. Like if you're the second, we are going to bear the cost because it will be more expensive, and the guy who did first will take the credit. So let's start building now." And then everyone laughed and left the meeting. And then a couple of years later, we started to do the work. And I think that 2 years before I left, we launched the Whopper 100% clean. That's how we called it. And then today, the whole portfolio is clean. Believe it or not, Burger King does not have uh, um, ingredients from artificial source in any product in the US, and the work is being done globally too. I want my label to be clean label because what you described is at a different level, but it's exactly what's going to happen. Like I don't think the US is as advanced in plant based as Europe, for instance. But in Europe, people are very mindful of that. So, Fernando, are the formulations that you have today 100% clean? No, they are not. So I'm having that exact same conversation. People are not leaving the room laughing this time. But like that work has to be done. Not all products that we have are 100% free of ingredients from artificial sources, and I want them to be, you know, because it's the right thing to do, and because I think it will become a massive barrier for people to consume plant-based. Make sense?
We're yes. Moving the ball forward one company at a time. Last one. You two?
I'll be brief. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
No, her. Ladies first.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
Neither of you. Um, I think that the goal is never to be acquired, because I think that if you put that as a goal, like I don't think people will focus on the right things. Like I was at Activision Blizzard for the past year. My last year on Activision Blizzard, there was a bid from Microsoft to acquire Activision Blizzard, and people would come to me all the time, feel like, "Oh, are you guys talking about that?" I'm like, "No, we are not. It's illegal. I cannot even talk to the guys from Microsoft." But like, I'm the type of person who, like, I only worry about the things I can control, honestly. And I was not thinking at all about the Microsoft thing. And here, it's kind of the same. You know, like it's not something that we talk about. I do think that eventually we'll probably IPO, like, and it's not just what I think. It's kind of like that has been said in the press at some point. Probably not the best time to IPO tech stuff like these days. But I think that when time comes, I think that maybe like, oh, but what if someone wants to buy you guys? Well, I'm sure people are going to have a discussion about that, but like, it's not something that we talk much about. You know, we have a JV with Kraft Heinz in the US that's really helpful in terms of given scale. Like, it was very. I think it's really good for them too. Like, they are considered to be much more innovative because they have done this. I think that they are number two company on the Fast Company list of most innovative companies out there. Kraft Heinz is a very traditional company. Um, so anyway, like, long story short, is like today we don't talk about that. I cannot tell you if a proposal or an offer happens if they are not going to consider. I mean, there is a board, and I think it would go to the board, and they would discuss that there. For now, I'm just like head down trying to do stuff.
Go for it.
It was 100% generated by AI. Well, I mean, depends on which state you look at, depends on where it's aired, depends on, I mean, the legislation still has to be built. You know, like, I have my point of view in terms of how the legislation should be, but today is a dog's breakfast when it comes to that. You know, like, the images were created on Mid Journey. You know, like, who owns the image, right? You know, like, I have a view on that, but like, yeah, yeah, but we didn't call the name, and we made it very clear that was AI generated, right? I mean, it's like, I think it's just my personal opinion. I think that if you use and you don't say it, I think it's problematic. You know, like, we make it clear, debatable, right? I mean, I told you, like, huh?
No IP.
He didn't call me yet. No. If he calls, I will put Ken to talk to him.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Yes.
Fernando, not boring.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.